Hey everybody, welcome back to How to Build a City series on my channel. So today we're going to be talking about stadiums. Now I know it's been a while since I've uploaded a video for this series, but I do want to get back into it a little bit step by step. So today, like I said, we're going to be talking about stadiums. So what I'm going to do is kind of tell you where might be the best places to add them when you're starting off your city. Now usually a stadium is usually something you don't add at first. You don't add it when you only have a couple buildings, unless you want to revolve everything around it. Now the reason I like stadiums is because it kind of makes the stadium and the city feel like it has more life to it and more appeal, because when you have a sports team, it always brings some appeal to the actual city in real life. So you're trying to kind of bring that over from real life to fake life, if that makes sense. So I'm going to come on the other side of my river. This is usually where I put my stadiums. Is if I have a river in my world, I usually put it on the other side away from the main city. And so you'll see why here in a second. But I loaded one up with World Edit. This kind of make our lives a little bit easier and faster. So, that's going to load up. So while that's loading up, I'm going to discuss about why we're actually putting it on the other side. Now, if you don't have a river on your city, we will be going over one of those in the actual city itself. So if you are a little bit curious about that, you do not have to have your stadium on the other side of the river if you don't have one. That's just something that I like to do personally. And so this is a very big stadium that we are loading in, so it will probably take a minute or two. But the reason for it is I kind of like separating my city from the main attractions, because then when you have the stadium, it kind of brings in more appeal and look, I feel like, in my opinion. Oh, there we go. Things are loading in finally. And just the sheer view of how it looks when you're actually right by it, which you're going to see is a really big improvement. Oh, I'm not sure what happened there. Give me a second, guys. And we're back. Okay, no idea what happened. That was really weird. Has it loaded in yet? It does not look like it. It's going to be one of those days where, they're starting to load in now. And I do want to mention, this stadium is not my original design. I kind of just copied and pasted it with World Edit, so I didn't have to build my own. And I think this one came from like Greenfield or another city on the PC that's pretty popular, that I downloaded just for a reference to kind of get these builds a little bit faster rather than just building them from scratch. Okay, so now we're going to come down here and land, and this is why I like to build my stadiums on the other side of a river if you have one, and just look at it. It makes a great first impression. It is a very big stadium nonetheless, but still, it adds a great feel to it. It's definitely a focal point of the city, and usually I don't like having really tall skyscrapers around my stadium, because I feel like that kind of takes away from the design and the appeal of your stadium. Let's go time set 0. And so that's another reason why I do like building it on the other side of the river. And if you just take a look at it, it makes a great first impression. You can see the city when you're just walking around on the outside. From the city, you can see it when you're walking on the outside. It's just a great first impression thing. And usually the water, especially if you have a shaders mod or anything like that on the PC, it does anything like that. If you have just anything like water, it definitely makes the stadium look a lot better in my opinion. Now again, a lot of this is based on my opinion and my experience on building cities. So what we're going to do now is we're going to load up a second stadium, and stadium 2. We're not going to use the same one because that one is a very big stadium and takes forever to load in. Now usually one of the things I kind of preach when it comes to stadiums and just anything in a city is your scale, and this right here is actually a pretty good scale, from especially comparing it to all the buildings surrounding it. And when I say surrounding it, I mean like on the other side, like we have here. And that's actually a very big thing. Is your scale is a very important thing when you're making anything, because if you don't have your scales right and your proportions, things are going to look really, really weird, if that makes sense. So, okay, so we're going to make our next stadium right here in this opening. So usually for stadiums, you need a pretty big opening. Now this one will be for when you're actually in a city environment and you want the city to be kind of in the main part of it. So what we're going to do is this kind of / paste. Now this one, I'm not sure where it's going to end up at first. So we're going to have to wait and kind of see where it ends up. Hopefully it will load in. We are lagging here for a second. Usually that means Java probably will fail for a second. Okay, so we're back. So my Minecraft actually did crash trying to load everything in. So we're going to try this one more time to hopefully see if it does work. So / paste. And hopefully it actually loads in this time. Now, like I said earlier, I'm not sure where this is going to be put because this is the first time I've placed it. So if we do have to make changes to it, we can just kind of do that, you know, when everything is placed and things like that. So usually if you're trying to make your stadium in the main part of your city, surrounded by skyscrapers and things like that, you know, you do want to make sure you have enough space for it because, again, your proportions and your scale of everything is very important and when you're making things like this. And it's loading in. So it's loading in sideways, it looks like. So that actually might work out. So before it even gets too far, so all the things you see there that are those weird blocks, that is actually supposed to be stained glass, but in 1.6.2 that I'm using for this tutorial, I just kind of have to use it for world edit. So I'm going to do is actually just place this again. Now this stadium is actually from Lapis. Man, my spelling is horrible. And from Lapis Point. Now Lapis Point is kind of like Huntington. It was their city before Huntington. And again, I'm using it as a point of reference to kind of save myself some time because I don't really have any of my worlds on the Xbox, or excuse me, on the PC, because usually all mine are on the Xbox. So again, make sure if you are making your stadium in the city surrounded by skyscrapers and things like that, make sure you do have plenty of space. And another thing I think people mess up on is kind of going off space again. You want to make sure you have enough room for parking, just different things like that, because you can't just have the stadium. You need to have room for growth when it comes to adding parking garages, just different things like that. Now, obviously, this stadium is a little bit smaller than the one across the river, but it still looks pretty well proportioned to its surroundings. And again, I'm going to be preaching that a lot in this series, just because it is such an important thing, and it will be something that you kind of gain with time and experience when you're building these things. But usually you just want some experience, I guess. And okay, so actually we still have quite a bit of space. This might work. So what I'm actually going to do is move it a little bit closer. So undo. And I'm just going to place it right here at the very corner this time. So / paste. Oh my goodness. There we go. So now that's loading in. Difficulty set to 0. So then that way we don't have any Endermen or creepers or anything like that. Yeah, so once this is done loading in, I think this video will kind of be kind of a wrap, because it's kind of just, if you want to, I'm trying to think like what would be the best way to kind of put this. If you want a stadium in your city, that is perfectly fine, but you do have to realize what you're working with in the space that you have to work with, because that is also just very important. And you want to make sure you have room to actually grow it, and you're not just trying to fit it in this tiny space. So usually if you're trying to build a stadium, you know, maybe make 1 or 2 roads, but don't make a perfect square. Or if you have it planned out already, that's fine. But usually what I do is I would start off with these 2 roads right here to kind of get a starting boundary. And then once I have the stadium complete, and then I will continue building the roads around it. That way I can add in parking garages where I need to. And you want to make sure you have enough room for parking and different things like that, because those are also very important if you are going for a realistic feel to your city. So yeah, so I think we are done for this part. So we have 2 stadiums in the city now. I'm not sure what the next part will be. Maybe it will be adding parking garages and things like that into the city. And maybe we're to add a couple like smaller buildings here and there. But yeah, but I think we got quite a bit done in this video. So thank you very much for watching, guys. It is greatly appreciated. If you do want me to cover something when it comes to building a city, let me know in the comments and I will try to get through all of those and get to what people want to see. But yeah, so just kind of to recap, usually what I do is if I have a river, I like to build my stadium right next to the river on the other side of the main part of the city, because in my opinion, it just looks fantastic. And there it is, finally loading in. I mean, you just can't tell me that doesn't look fantastic. It doesn't, you know, it has that just appeal to it, and it has the attraction, which is something I love in a city. And it just kind of catches your eye, which is what I always try to go for. And then if you're trying to build one in the city, make sure you have enough space for it. Kind of plan it out ahead of time. You know, make sure you're not just kind of fitting it into a small area. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Bye bye everyone, and I will see you guys next time or next week if you want to come back for more videos. Bye bye.